I have a lot of tips and tricks. I know the secrets. I am not a doctor. Just just making sure you guys know I'm not a doctor. I know I'm not a doctor. We're on the same page. Cool. What's up, guys? Today I'm gonna be doing my tee shot, so I thought I'd show you guys how I do it. I was not taught how to do this or anything like that. I taught myself. That being said, a little disclaimer. Obviously, there's gonna be needles in this, so if you don't want to see needles, don't watch this. But also, just an FYI, I am not a doctor, so please don't take me as one. I have a lot of tips and tricks. I know the secrets. But if your doctor told you to do something and like do it this way or whatever, do what your doctor said, because I am not a doctor. Just just making sure you guys know I'm not a doctor. I know I'm not a doctor. We're on the same page. Cool. I'm gonna get it all set up. I'm gonna show you guys everything I pull out. I like to get everything ready and set up so that I can just do my shot and have it over and done with. So I have learned like tips and tricks from other people, and I have friends that are nurses and whatnot. So I do know some things that I will share with you guys, but just remember that I'm not a doctor. I'm not your doctor. I just learned how to do this thing and I'm doing it, and risks are involved. However, I do know that other people don't really get taught this or whatnot, and they just kind of are out there on their own, which is what I've always been doing throughout this whole journey. So that's awesome. But hopefully this will help you if you needed it. And if not, then you can just see me stab myself. So, yeah. Can't you sense my enthusiasm? First, you're going to need your sharps container to dispose of any needles. You're going to need some alcohol swabs to wipe everything down. You're obviously going to need your medicine, so whip that tea out. You're going to need the needle you would draw with and the needle you switch it to. If you have two needles, I start out with the 18 gauge and then I switch it up to 23 gauge. That's what I inject with. Band-aids are encouraged and recommended just in case there's any bleeding that may happen. So you might want to get yourself one of those. And then this is what my setup ends up looking like at the end. Now I'm going to use the swab to wipe down the tea, make sure there's no bacteria on it, make sure it's clean, and then I'm going to rub it in between my hands so it's nice and warm. Because tea is an oil-based substance, it's pretty thick, so rubbing it in between your hands and getting it nice and warm helps when you withdraw it and everything. So this is a pretty cool tip. Then I'm going to take the needle, make sure the tip is nice and tight on it. I know some people don't make it that tight, but I do, so whatever. Take the lid off. I'm gonna release it a little bit, and I'm gonna push air out, so it'll help me when I withdraw the tea into it. And then I'm gonna go down to my dose, which is 0.8, before I put it into the tea. So now when I put it in, I'm gonna go ahead and push that air back into the testosterone. So it'll help avoid air bubbles, but also when I pull it down, it'll help the tea come out nice and smoothly. There you go. See it coming out right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and tap it for any air bubbles. Turn it upright, tap it, all that good stuff. I usually get more than I need just to make sure I have enough and make sure I can get all the air bubbles out that I can. And then that's it. I'm going to put the cover back on that bad boy. I'm going to switch the 18 gauge to my 23 gauge. I'm going to wipe off the tea one more time because I just personally like to do it. Maybe I have OCD, I don't know. And now I'm going to switch to 23 gauge, which I just said, but I'm repeating myself. So, oh well. I hold it upright because if I held it the other way, you know, the tea would fall out of it. So I do it this way. That's a thing. Then I'm going to dispose of that needle into my sharps container, which is really necessary to have when you're doing something like this. Gonna put the 23 gauge on, make sure that one's nice and tight. And the same thing I did with the testosterone earlier where I rubbed it in between my hands, I'm gonna do the same thing with the needle. I usually flip it upright and, with the needle pointing up, and I rub it in between my hands just until it feels warm. This is one way I learned how to find your spot. If you're doing it on your leg, put one hand in front of the other, cupping your knee, and then that's like the general area you're going into. Or here's another way with the quadrants, but I don't understand the quadrants, so I apologize. But they say to do quadrant 4 if you understand the quadrants. I do not. So I found my spot, I wiped it down and everything, and now I'm obviously injecting myself. If I hesitate, it's not a good thing, so I try to just go straight for it and just keep going. Don't stop. Try to make sure my leg's nice and calm. I'm calm, like my leg isn't tense. Now that I have it in, I'm gonna pull up a little bit to make sure there's no blood. And nope, I'm all good, so I'm gonna go ahead and press it down. I did speed this up a little bit just because it was like really slow, because you should do it really slow. But when you're actually injecting yourself, it's a good thing to go slow, so that you don't cause any buildup, you don't add to any air bubbles or anything like that. So the slower the better. If listening to music helps you out, then do that. But yeah, once I'm done, I just pull it out nice and easy, put my band-aid on. I'm gonna rub the site just like I did everything else, because the same thing with like rubbing the T and rubbing the needle. That's something that I've come to learn as well, is to rub the spot. Kind of helps it out, get it into your bloodstream and everything. And then I'm just going to apply pressure for a little bit while I put on the band-aid. I try not to put the sides on too long because it actually rips the heck out of my leg hair when I take it off. But applying pressure helps so it's not super sore afterwards, because that is something I'm not about unless I'm going to the gym. I don't need to be sore. Put the lid back on. I'm going to dispose that in the sharps container. And now I put my pants back on, because now I can put my pants back on. So one more tip, if it hurts when you do your shot, like if needles aren't your thing, whatever, whatever the thing is. For me, I breathe, I breathe really deeply. I take a deep breath in and out, kind of like the same when I get like a piercing or whatever. What they tell you. I kind of try to do that when I'm giving myself my shot. But one of my friends who's a nurse said that when you're getting a shot, for you to cough, because the coughing will distract you from like the needle. So the pain you feel from the needle, that sensation will be off-put by your cough. So try to like cough at the same time you inject yourself. I've yet to try that because, one, I don't know how to like cough and inject myself at the same time. But also because I don't feel like that's really necessary for me yet, but it might come to that point where I'm like, so yeah. Also know that it's okay if, you have a couple of bad shots here and there. I think I've had maybe 3 or 4, whether I was the one administering them to myself or I had somebody else administering them to myself. I've even had like IVs and whatnot, blood drawn test thingies and like all that stuff where like things haven't been exactly perfect. So don't be discouraged by that. Things happen. But also, make sure you know your body, like how everything's reacting. If you need to see a doctor, see a doctor. If you have a doctor you can call them, get their advice and tips and whatnot. If a doctor told you to do something a certain way, do that. But also remember that testosterone doesn't only come in shots or like injections, whatever. There's plenty of different forms of testosterone, so if you really can't stand the shots, then consult your doctor about gel, cream, patches, etc. I will make a video speaking about all of those and all like the differences of them, the pros and cons. So just know that there's plenty of options. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this helped you out. If it did, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for hanging out in my bathroom with me. That was a fun time, right? Right. All my info is down below if you want to go check it out. I also have like an Ask FM if you want to go ask me anonymous questions, because I know people like anonymity. That's not a word, is it? I don't know. See you guys next time. Peace out.